Good evening, everyone. It's Sal Stretford. How you doing? And welcome to another episode of Chatterbox. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day and enjoying a little bit of positivity for a change, isn't it? It's a little bit of positivity for a change, guys. Let me just fix my hair real quick. Absolute mess. But yeah, guys, it's been a little good to have a little bit of nice news around Man United. Something a little bit calm, not defeated. A nice result against Liverpool was lovely, of course, guys. You know what? We're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it. This is Chatterbox. I'm Sal Warner. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And please don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. Absolutely perfect to have you guys here with me. Thank you, everyone here in the chat, of course, guys. Big up UK Rap. What's going on, my friend? The only place for news, Legend Sal. Big up UK Rap, as usual, my friend. Big up, my friend. Love you, brother, from Music Days till now. One love. Thank you, Redwood Tower. Thank you for your support, as always, my legend. Thank you so much. Big up, Jim. What's going on? Late Night Fires. What's the time where you are, Jim? What's the time? Yeah, you know what? It is all about Man United and the merry-go-round, which is the Man United transfer window, of course. There's lots of news going on in regards to Manchester United and swap deals and players out, players in. It's a bit of a crazy one. And you know what? You will get lost with all the news coming out of Man United. And, you know, sometimes you just need to take a step back and say, do you know what? Just calm down and stuff like that. But there is news coming out of Man United. It is January transfer window, and there is going to be news circulating, of course. And this is why we report the news. This is what it's all about, of course. So Manchester United are in a lockdown talks with Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen, of course, would request around £62 million. Man United are trying to swerve a deal with Marcus Rashford and Victor Osimhen. But not only Victor Osimhen, there's also a player called Kvaratskhelia, of course, guys. Easy for you to say. He is also in the news, of course, with Manchester United, and Manchester United look to be doing a deal in the summer for that player. World-class player, of course. Lots of noises going on around Napoli, around Marcus Rashford going to Napoli. Obviously, Scott McTominay's at Napoli at the moment, and you know what? He probably would fit in there very well, you know. With Scott McTominay. Obviously, there was talk about Maguire going to Napoli, but obviously Maguire's now signed a new contract at Manchester United, so obviously that is not going to happen in any time soon, of course. But Manchester United in the near future want to do a deal for Victor Osimhen, but the backup plan is Vlahovic. Now, Vlahovic is a Juventus player, been around a lot, around the news for a long time now in regards to Man United, very prolific striker. Of course, guys, Man United want to do a deal with Xerxes for Vlahovic and to let Xerxes go out to Juventus and Man United get in Vlahovic. Now, the stipulations of that deal is unclear, whether Man United will pay a fee or Juventus will pay a fee, or there will be no fees. That is not clear yet. But what is clear is that Manchester United and Xerxes want to part ways. And I feel sorry for Xerxes. The way things have worked out for him at Man United haven't been great. You know, I was really happy with the reception he received after he came on yesterday against Liverpool, of course, guys. So I was very, very pleased with that. Now, guys, look, yesterday I spoke a lot about not being a defeatist, not losing. No, don't give up too soon. And lo and behold, Man United should have won the game yesterday. Ended up in a draw at Anfield. And I told you we wouldn't lose. And to be honest with you, I saw a lot of signs there that, you know what, were good. Were good for Man United. And you know what, the problem is that when we play against these teams, you know, we seem to turn it on. It's just the smaller teams that is the problem. Now, look, that's away from the subject. But Vlahovic could be a viable option for Man United in regards to Xerxes. Of course, Thiago Motta used to manage Xerxes at Bologna. So he is a big fan of Xerxes already. Rumor is that Vlahovic wants to leave Juventus. And that will be killing two birds with one stone. But you know what? I would prefer Victor Osimhen. I don't know how you guys feel, but I would prefer Victor Osimhen, of course. Jim, 12 a.m. My goodness me. It is late there, my friend. Goodness me. Sal, I do believe what was the penalty yesterday, but the way the ref played it on was wrong. I think you're right, Jim. But the thing what I'm angry about is the double standards. The double standards that, you know what, it is a handball. But the problem is that when it's United, they don't give it. That's where I get conflicted, and that's where I get angry about things, you know, because obviously De Ligt, having looked at it back, De Ligt shouldn't have had his hand up. He didn't jump. He just had his hand up stationed on the ground. So that is a penalty. But my biggest, obviously, issue with this is the double standards. Is that 1 minute's a penalty, the next minute it's not a penalty, and that is the problem I'm having with it, Jim. You know, and I feel like every time it's Man United, it's straight penalty. You know what I mean? When it's Man United, we have to fight tooth and nail for a penalty. Do you know what I mean? We predicted before the game that Liverpool would get a penalty. We said that Liverpool would get a penalty in the game, and you know, lo and behold, Salah scored again against Man United, and it was a penalty. You know, God forbid. I mean, in regards to Liverpool, they've got obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold, and they've got Van Dijk, and they've got Mohamed Salah in there, and they're all not signed contracts, so they could be possibly leaving the club. But it does look very realistic that Man United could do a deal for Vlahovic for Xerxes, and that would be interesting. I myself, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not sure about Dusan. I'm not sure about Vlahovic, guys. Dusan Vlahovic. I'm not sure. 24 years old, still very young, of course, very valuable player. When we look at him this season and we look at how many goals he scored, you know, he's a goal scorer. He is a goal scorer. He's got 13 goals for Serbia in 32 appearances. It's okay. It's fairly average for a player of his stature. Of course, guys, it is fairly average. But you know what? Former Partizan Belgrade player, signed for Juventus for a big fee, of course, from Fiorentina. You know, I think, look, it will be a risk if Man United do that. To be honest with you, I'm a bit skeptical now in regards to the Serie A, bringing players in from Serie A to the Premier League. I just don't think it quite works sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a bit skeptical about that. It's the same with Osimhen. There is no difference with Osimhen. It's just that the thing with Osimhen, he strikes me as a Premier League type player. You know, he strikes me with that sort of player. He's got strength, who, you know, can hold on the play, hold up the ball, bring other players into play, etc., and can score goals. And that's one thing I would say in regards to that, of course, guys. Absolutely. Big up Rasta Stocks. How you doing, my friend? The ball hit his hand. That was not a penalty. The referee is a scrub for what he did. The Rasta Stocks, this is where the rules need to be clarified, isn't it? You know what I mean? I would not give a penalty, because at the end of the day, when the ball hits your hand, you can't really do nothing about it. From 2 inches, guys, you know what I mean? You can't really do anything about it. If someone hit a ball at my hand right now, and from two meters out, I won't be able to move my hand away quick enough. You know what I mean? This guy was like that. Ball was like that. Hit hand. It's like they're aiming at the hand, and that is where common sense prevails. And I agree. I see both ends of the spectrum. I really do, Rasta. I see both ends of the spectrum, and you know what, I do feel like, you know what, it could have been not given. Of course, Oliver didn't give it. You know, it was the VAR that gave it, and we're not good friends with VAR at the moment, of course, guys. Absolutely. Ashik, what's going on, brother? I hope you're doing a big respect for Amram fighting with this squad against the best team in the world and filled with hostile fans. Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, football's 11 against 11. And you never know what's going to happen in football, no matter what. You know, no matter what team you're playing against, it's 11 against 11. I'm sad that we didn't win the game. I felt Man United had the better chances, and I felt Man United should have won the game in the end. But you know what? A point is a fantastic point away at Anfield, and we move on against Arsenal in the FA Cup. And if we can knock out Arsenal in the FA Cup, that would be absolutely fantastic. And we move on to the easier games, so to speak, against Southampton and Ipswich Town, those type of games. But those are the type of games, of course, that we've been struggling, isn't it? Big up, Ricardo. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Big up, Ricardo Diaz. Hope everything is good with you. Absolutely. Bon noite, bon dia. What's going on? Hope everything is good in Portugal, of course, guys. But you know what? That's one thing I would say is that, you know what? We need to pick it up against the smaller teams. And these teams against Liverpool, the games against Liverpool, the games against City are relatively, you know what, predictable, because I did predict that Man United wouldn't lose the game. I know there's many people saying, no, we're going to get smashed up and stuff like that. You're right, Rasta. He is a Man City fan, I think. I'm led to believe. I'm led to believe he is a Man City fan. I'm led to believe he is. And, you know what I mean? We've never had good decisions with Michael Oliver. Michael Oliver is an absolute pain in the backside, to be honest. And every single time he seems to be refereeing Man United games. And that is what the problem is, isn't it? You know what I mean? And it is annoying, of course. Absolutely. Do not want him referee our match. We've been saying it for ages, Rasta, isn't it? At the end of the day, you know what? It's the FIFA, the PGMO, who pick the referees for the games, and they seem to want to pick Mr. Oliver for Man United games, whether it's on the pitch or in VAR room. They want Man United, they want Oliver in. But we didn't lose the game, Leicester. And to be honest with you, I saw a lot of positives. We were playing 11 against 12 yesterday, and we still didn't lose the game at Anfield. And you know what? There's a lot to be positive there about, of course. But we know that Man United can pick it up, and we know that Man United need to do better against the other teams. And that's the problem. If we beat the likes of Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest and Wolves, Man United will be way up there in the league. But that's where our problem lies. It's our bread and butter, isn't it, at the end of the day? I hope that Man United don't have to endure another refereeing disaster class from Oliver. But unfortunately, you know what? It doesn't look like that is going to happen. I think they love him too much. Regardless what he does, he makes so many mistakes, and they still love him, of course. Guys, big up, Daniel. What's going on, my friend? Well played against Arsenal and crap against Southampton and Ipswich. Played well against Arsenal. Look, at the end of the day, yeah, exactly the problem with Man United, Daniel. At the end of the day, that is Man United to a T. That is what Man United are. They play well against the likes of Arsenal and Man City and you know what? Liverpool away, which is probably the toughest game in Europe at the moment, and absolutely go toe-to-toe with Liverpool and should have won the game. And, you know, I was very happy with Man United and dare I say it, you know, pleased, you know, and enthusiastic about Man United yesterday. And to be honest with you, though, what I would say is that Man United need to be professional and they need to get it up here right. Because every game is the same in the Premier League. I don't care what you say. Every game is 3 points if you win. Every game is a point if you draw. And you have to play the games in front of you. Alex Ferguson said that if we lose to Man City, I don't care as long as we're lifting the title at the end of the season. And that is what it was all about. Because at the end of the day, it is about winning the title. That's what it's about at the end of the day, of course. Big up, Daniel. Big up. Yes, my friend. Big up, of course. You're right, Sal. There is double standards. Totally agree with you. Though that view is a grey area too. What is a player supposed to do? Exactly, Jim. Exactly what I'm saying. If the player is in front of you and he heads the ball or he kicks the ball at your arm, what on earth are you meant to do about it? What can you do about it? That's the biggest issue. You can't move your arm quickly out of the way. It's impossible, especially when you're concentrating on the game and you're watching the ball. It's a grey area, and maybe they need to really reevaluate that area of the game. Of course, in theory, yesterday it was a penalty because he put his arm up. That is it. You know what I mean? And at the end, I think that rule is wrong. I think it should be common sense should prevail. But my biggest, obviously, issue was the double standards. As I said, Jim, it's the double standards. They could look into that in the future, but the double standards are really annoy me, to be honest with you, because I know if that was Man United, they would never give a penalty in a million Sundays, mate. Absolutely not. Ashik, Sal, what's happening with Rashford situation? Looking like only... Rashford at the moment, you know what? He's a big headache. And the problem with Rashford at the moment, guys, is that nobody wants him. Sorry to say. Nobody wants Marcus Rashford, guys. Nobody wants to buy Marcus Rashford. Nobody wants to pay the wage on Marcus Rashford. So this is becoming a little bit of a pickle for Man United right now. Going forward, what I would say is that Rashford is a bit of a headache at Man United. You know what? I don't trust him anymore. Even if he came out and he apologized, I don't think I really trust him anymore. I don't trust Marcus Rashford anymore. And I think, you know what, we're better without him. We really are. Did we miss him yesterday? Absolutely not. We're better without him. So I just feel like we should move on and try and do something in regards to Marcus Rashford. Of course, guys. Daniel, 99% of handballs are not deliberate. It's a stupid rule. I agree, Daniel. 100%, mate. I've been there. I used to be a defender. I've been there, guys, and to be honest with you, it is impossible, you know, to move your hand out the way. But back in the day when I was younger, things were a little bit more common sense. You know, you look at it and say, is it a deliberate handball? And that is the key, isn't it? Deliberate handball. You remember when we got the penalty against PSG those years ago in 2018 when we knocked out PSG at the Champions League? Like, for example, that wasn't a penalty. Let's be honest with ourselves, guys. He had his hand up, but it's really not, is it? You know, and that's the thing. We have to look at things, you know, from a humane sort of point of view, because at the moment we're not. We're looking at things from a robotic sort of view that you can move your hand out whenever you want, you know, and that it was quite obvious that De Ligt did not know where his hand was. He was concentrating on the ball, and that was it. And to be honest with you, no surprise that they gave the penalty to Liverpool. They would do, don't they? This is what they do, you know, Anfield penalty. They get more penalties than any other club in the world, I think, you know what I mean? Goals of George, what's going on, my friend? Hope you're good. I heard Vlahovic is on 420k, of course, and due to FFP, that's the reason they want to get rid. Osimhen is cheaper and more lethal. Doubt Vlahovic will get those wages. He won't get those wages, mate. Absolutely not. And that, you're absolutely spot on goals for George, as usual, my friend. At the end of the day, look, as Osimhen is my favourite, I think Osimhen's more proven. Won the league with Napoli, of course, was prolific in that season. 30-plus goals, of course. Victor Osimhen is a fantastic player. And I would love to have Victor Osimhen at Manchester United. Man United are looking to explore a deal with Dusan Vlahovic. Of course, the wage could be a stumbling block. Joshua is only on about 67,000 a week, I think. And obviously, Vlahovic is on whatever amount, astronomical amount he's on. But one thing we will say is that Dusan Vlahovic wants to leave Juventus, so beggars can't be choosers. And if he wants to leave Juventus, he's going to have to take a pay cut. That's it. But the one thing I would say is that I don't trust Vlahovic as a prolific striker, in my opinion. I really don't. I don't think he's going to do well in the Premier League. But we never know, do we? We never know in this league what could happen, of course, guys. You know what I mean? And, in this league, anything can go on. Anything can happen. And that he might turn out to be world class, But I do prefer Osimhen. I really do. I think he's a much better prospect in the Premier League. More about him in my honest opinion. Rasta, he's the worst number 10 for our club. Only thing he's achieved was the Europa League. He also lost us to Europa League. You remember that miss he missed against what was the team? Villarreal? Wasn't it Villarreal? At the end of the day, look, he's living off that Europa League title, which was won by Jose Mourinho, you know what I mean? And we would have won that game anyway. That was an emotional night, of course, back in 2017 when we won the Europa League. Of course, obviously, there was the Manchester bombings the night before. So, at the end of the day, it was an emotional night and Man United won the game. And I think Man United would have won the game without Marcus Rashford, in my opinion, as well. Definitely. Big up, Rasta. It annoys me, Sal. Refs cheat against right. The TV they don't like it. Look, there was a situation yesterday, Jim, which was almost identical, and the TV didn't show it. And this is the problem that I'm having with this rule, with this handball rule. It is totally, flawed, and it is biased and sinister against Manchester United. Look, people will say, "Oh, stop blaming the refs." We're not blaming the refs because the problem is that the referees are very important in the game. Whether you win or lose, you know what I mean? Yesterday, Michael Oliver was the difference between Man United winning that game and losing that game. Absolutely. You saw the yellow card he gave to Maguire when it weren't even a touch, and he fouled him outside the box apparently, and he gave a yellow card to Maguire. It wasn't a yellow card, and this is the problem. Oliver should not be refereeing any Manchester United matches, and that is, in my opinion. Big up Yorkshire Cowboy. What's going on? Let's bring back Weghorst. Let's bring back Wout Weghorst. He did a good job for Man United whilst he was there, innit? Hardly scored any goals. But as I said, brings players into the game, holds up the ball in his chest well and stuff like that. Liked him, to be honest. I liked his personality. Just not that quality, is he? He's just not on that quality that we need, of course. We need someone prolific, of course. Mate, that guy won't even get into double figures. Goodness me. But he is still better than... Oh, don't be like that, Yorkshire Cowboy. Look, you know what? At the end of the day, I like Rasmus. I said I like Rasmus. Rasmus scores goals, and he's not better than Rasmus. Definitely not. Rasmus scores more goals than Weghorst. One thing I will say about Rasmus is that he needs to simplify his game. He needs to shoot more. He needs to get himself into position to score goals. You know what? Make himself space and stuff like that. That's one thing I would say, of course. But I don't think he's that bad. I think the problem is with Rasmus. Let me tell you this, George Cowboy. The problem is Rasmus. It's something to do with Rat and Ra, isn't it? Rashford and Rasmus. Anyway, the problem with Rasmus is that, he's young. And the thing is, he's been thrown into the deep end at Man United straight away. We need an experienced striker to complement Rasmus. We do. We need an experienced striker that he can play alongside and learn from. At the moment, I don't think he's learning from anyone in regards to a striking capacity. When Ruud van Nistelrooy was there, he was he was scoring quite a few goals, wasn't he? I do believe he has talent. I just feel like he's been burdened by his price tag, which wasn't his fault. It was obviously the ex-owners, the competent owners, of course, of Vermerto and Woodward and the Glazers and stuff like that. It was them. He's been burdened that. He's a £30 million player. He's not a £80 million player. We know that, And I think that there's been unnecessary burden on his shoulders. I do believe that Man United could likely loan him out if Man United get another striker in there, although we are very short on strikers at the moment. Man United could quite possibly loan out Erasmus. But I like Rasmus, and I think he has potential. He just needs to start being more brave and start believing in himself a little bit more. I think that's what it is, of course. Arsenal works his tits off as well. I hate the players that don't work hard. It really gets them under. Absolutely, Daniel, spot on, mate. And that is what it's about. It's all about work ethic. At the moment, we have a number of players who are not giving their effort. Yesterday, what concerned me was the fact that the after-match opinions from Bruno Fernandes and obviously Ruben Amorim when they were saying, how come we don't do that against Southampton? And that goes for Bruno Fernandes as well. It's him as well. How comes they don't do that against the likes of Southampton and Ipswich? There's no point getting these points at Anfield and beating Manchester City if you go on a 4-game losing run again, isn't it? And this has been the problem with Man United going over the last few years. Of course, Man United don't seem to have that consistency. And so dare I say it, mentality, because at the end of the day, maybe it's like they see Liverpool, the cameras are on them, point to prove. It's a rivalry, etc. And maybe they raise their game. But when it comes to Southampton, Ipswich, Bournemouth, Wolves, those sort of games, they're like, you know what, we can drop this one. No one's watching anyway. It's that sort of thing. And I do hope that's not the case. And I really do. I hope Man United go on a winning run. I hope we beat Arsenal, knock off Arsenal at the FA Cup, and we go on a magnificent winning run. We've just played Liverpool, one of the hardest places to go in Europe. And played them off the park, in my opinion. We went toe-to-toe for them with them, and should have won that game if it wasn't for Oliver, of course. I don't mind saying and Bundesliga strikers in the Premiership. Samaka flopped at West Ham, and Fulgrock is following suit. Osman has good numbers, and Nigeria, Germany, Belgium. He does, yeah, and he's one of my favourite players. He's got the physique for the Premier League. But when we look at Xerxes and players like that who have come to the Premier League recently, they haven't really done the business, have they? And Man United haven't really, had good luck when it comes to Serie A players, really. I mean, when you look at Serie A players and you look at, of course, the player who played on, who's the player who played on the fullback for Man United, the Italian who played on fullback for Man United? What's his name? Guys? You can remind me in the chat. Massimo Taibi, of course. Federico Makeda is another one. Giuseppe Rossi is another one. Obviously Xerxes come from Italy, of course, guys. You know what? We'll have to see, isn't it? We have to see. Darmian, that's it, Yorkshire Cowboy. That's it. They haven't really done that good at Man United. So it is different. One thing I like about Osimhen is the fact that, you know what, he is a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse and he can hold up the ball. He reminds me of a Premier League player. And when you're scoring 30-odd goals, look, you know what? There's a difference between scoring 15 goals a season and 25, 30 goals a season. You know that boy's got talent then, don't you? You know what I mean? So, I've been a big fan of Osimhen for a long time. I felt that Man United should have signed a striker in the summer. Unfortunately, we didn't. You know what I mean? But you know what, mate? It's never too late to change that, of course. Absolutely. Rashford's not bad. Everyone goes through bad patches. He's got 30 goals. He's not a 30-goal striker yet. We never know what can happen in the future. I've seen stranger things happen in football. Of course, guys, I've seen Ian Dowie score 20 goals. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, so I know that can happen, of course. Definitely. Yorkshire Cowboy, his first shot, his hold-up play in the air and finishing should go on. Tell me a team he would get into. At the moment, he's our player, Yorkshire Cowboy. And I've seen him score goals. I've seen him be the top scorer in the Champions League for a period of time. You know what I mean? So he can hold up the play. He can score goals. He can head the ball because he scores goals. The problem is he doesn't get in the positions to score goals. This is his issue. I think he's a decent finisher. I really do. I think he can finish. But at the moment, he's a Man United player and there's nothing we can do with Rasmus Højlund. We have to trust him. We have to nurture him and we have to hope that he changes at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's about for Man United's sake. You know what I mean? Because we're not going to get rid of Rasmus Højlund right now. Not 80 million pounds. So we have to just get on with it and just hopefully he turns good and hopefully he starts scoring some goals for us again. He has scored goals for Man United, but he's not prolific enough for Man United. And that's the problem. He reminds me of a more Tottenham type striker, like a Solanke sort of striker, something like that. He's not a guy who's going to get you 30 goals a season, and that's the problem. But I hope it does change, and I hope that he does come good at Man United. At the moment, we can't sell Rasmus Højlund. I mean, what I would do, I would bring in an experienced striker and keep Rasmus Højlund, and and keep him on the bench, and let him learn. That's what I would do, to be honest with you guys. Smalling's nickname at Roma is Spaldini. That's Seri. Absolutely. Well done, Smalling. What's going on with Chris Smalling at the moment? Haven't heard about Chris Smalling in a very, very long time. I know he's at Roma, of course, guys. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with him now. I think he's still at Roma. He is still at Roma. He is. Christopher Smalling, plays. No, Christopher Smalling plays for Al Fayha now in Saudi Arabia. I did not know that. I did not know that, to be honest. He plays in Saudi Arabia for Al Fayha. Goodness me. He's not at Roma anymore, my friend. He's not at Roma anymore. Big up. Daniel, there is only 2 Italians won the Premier League. Who are they? The 2 Italians, Antonio Conte and Claudio Ranieri. There you go, mate. No? Mancini won it as well. You mean managers? If you want a Mancini won it, at the end of the day, he won it as well. Definitely. If you're thinking about Premier League players that have won the Premier League, Italians that have won the Premier League in regards to the Premier League, of course. Let me think about it. I've got to get it. Balotelli, yeah. Balotelli won the Premier League with Man City. Unfortunately, as we say, he did win the Premier League with them, of course. Of course, guys. I think, Gianfranco Zola, did he? He weren't playing for them at the time. He wasn't playing for Roberto Di Matteo, was not playing for them at the time, of course, at the end of the day. Jorginho. I'm not looking at anyone's comments. There you go. Thank you, Daniel. Big up, Daniel. Bellard in the post, of course. Pass, I mean, there you go. There you go. Daniel's got it, of course. I take Sesko more of a handful. I like Sesko. Yorkshire Cub, I really do. I think he's a brilliant player and a brilliant prospect. He's got more to his bow. He's got strings to his bow than obviously a number of players out there. Obviously, a young player as well, and a future ahead of him. The only problem is can he? The key question is, can he cut it in the Premier League? That is what the big question is, isn't it? Is can he cut it in the Premier League? Can he do it? Can he do the business in the Premier League? That's the only thing. But then again, you're going to have to take risks, isn't it? I like Sesko, I like Osimhen, big fans of theirs, absolutely. And I wouldn't mind any one of those players at Man United, to be honest. We do need another striker. It does look like Xerxes going to be leaving. Not surprised, to be honest. I don't think Xerxes settled in at all. I don't think he's as a bad player as people make out him to be, but it just hasn't worked out. It's not to be, is it, to be honest with you? And I wish him the best. I hope he goes on loan and absolutely smashes it, scores a number of goals, and then comes back to us, of course, guys. That'd be absolutely lovely. That pass on Garnacho was world class too. Absolutely. No one wants to mention Garnacho because it doesn't fit the narrative, does it? But that when Garnacho came on yesterday, he made a goal for us and he equalized and saved the game for us. And to be honest with you, he looks like he's changing his ways. He's left Twitter, hasn't he? He's left social media, I believe. So, you know what? He looks like he wants to change his ways. He wants to have a new direction, and good on him, because I believe in him. And he's a young player and I believe he can get better as well. When people look at Man United's team, it is incredibly young. You've got Ahmed, you've got Garnacho, you've got Garte's only 23, Xerxes only 23. Mainu's a young kid as well. You know what I mean? We got a lot. Euro as well. What about that tackle from Euro, though, guys? That tackle from Euro when he tracked back all the way back and got that tackle in. My goodness me, what a tackle that was. Unbelievable talent he's going to be. I don't know. Jorginho did, so it might only be Balotelli. Jorginho did win the league. He did win the league with Chelsea, I believe. I think he won the league with Chelsea, if I'm not wrong. Absolutely. Let me get this. Italian players who have won the Premier League. Right, okay. Italian players who have won the Premier League. Okay, how many Italian players have won the Premier League? And you're not going to get this one, guys. You're absolutely not going to get this one. There's only 2. There is only 2. Right? Can you name the other one? And you're not going to get it. Yeah, it was him. And who else? You're not going to get this one, guys. Don't look online. Don't look online. I know you're looking online at the moment, but the next guy who won the Premier League, Italian, and it is not Jorginho, it is Carlo Cudicini. Carlo Cudicini, guys. He's the one who won the Premier League as well. All those great Italians that played in the Premier League, Roberto Di Matteo, Gianfranco Zola, Gianluca Vialli, of course. Never won the Premier League. Not forgetting Massimo Taibi, of course, as well. The legend. Of course, guys, a legend that is Taibi. Of course, guys. Let's not forget about him, who had 3 or 4 games at Man United and was shipped out, unfortunately. Slippy hands he had. He had spaghetti hands, they called him, didn't they? At Man United, and it went through his legs every time the ball went at him. Unfortunately, he was one. There was a number of players there, though, in Italian players that have been fantastic in the Premier League. They actually built the Premier League in the 90s and did brilliant. That Chelsea team probably win the league now if they had that team, of course. Jim, I love Fabrizio Ravanelli, of course, the White Feather. Middlesbrough, of course, guys. Gianfranco Festa, he was another one. What's the other guy's name? I forgot the other guy's name. Who played for Everton, Everton and Newcastle. I love Højlund. Just gets the right players around him, and Garnacho too. And believe me, there will be gems. Absolutely love the opinion. I agree with you, Jim. Absolutely, players around you are important as well. Absolutely, bro. Okay, well, that's a level anyway. If Chris Smalling being called Smaldini at any time, that's a poor level. Yeah, that is a poor level to be. I mean, Maldini, I'm lucky enough to see Maldini play against Man United. He's a fantastic player. I saw, obviously, Pirlo play against Man United as well. I've seen some great players, my guys. What are you going to call Smalling now that he plays in Saudi Arabia, though? Now that he plays in Saudi Arabia, is it Chris Al Smalling? Is it Chris Al Smalling? Is it? Or is it how do we say it? How do we Saeed Al Smalling? What should we do? What should we call him now? It's not going to be Smaldini. What's that? Smaldini. Anyone worried that we show up against City or Liverpool? Are we turning into Leeds? You know what? That's a good point, mate. Don't say, oh, God, dirty Leeds, mate. Leeds, of course. Guys, I tell you how football can change in an instant. Football can change so quickly. I remember Leeds reaching the semi-final of the Champions League, just being unlucky, getting knocked out 1-0. I think it was an aggregate. I remember they had money and they spent too much money. David O'Leary spent all that money, didn't he? I would say about Leeds, though, and let me just bring this in, right? They won us a title, didn't they? They beat Arsenal at Highbury 3-2, wasn't it? Mark Viduka, what a player. What a player. Ian Hart, what a player. Absolute brilliant players. Underrated players. Absolutely. I don't like Leeds, but I'm going to say that right now. Underrated. I'm just bringing them into the conversation because they were great players, of course. Ian Hart and Mark Viduka. Brilliant players. Unfortunately, Gianluca Vialli didn't win the Premier League. God rest his soul, of course. Gianluca Vialli didn't win the Premier League. He was in that Chelsea team who won cups, isn't it? It was that cup-winning Chelsea team that just won the cups, wasn't it? Absolutely. Big up, Yorkshire Cowboy. In the 90s, the Italian League was the best. Daniel. In the 90s, the Italian League was untouchable. It was untouchable. You couldn't touch it. They had all the best players in the world. And this is precisely why Man United's treble was the best. Because Man United played a prime Juventus, a prime Inter Milan in that team. Look at that Inter Milan team back in the 90s. And you look at even Zamorano, you look at Zanetti, you look at Ronaldo in that team, absolute Simeone in that team, Paliuca in that team, an absolutely colossal team. Then you look at the Juventus team, had David, Sandro Del Piero, of course, Didier Deschamps, Zinedine Zidane, at the end of the day, what a team that was. Tacchinardi as well, Peruzzi in goal. It was a good team. Filippo Inzaghi was brilliant as well, guys, absolutely. To be honest with you, the Italian League was absolute monster in the 90s, yeah, it was. Spot on, Daniel. Sal, do you remember Gabriel Heinze? I do remember Gabriel Heinze, and I was right next to the goal where Kaká scored against Man United for AC Milan in 2007. I was right next to the goal when Gabriel Heinze fell on his backside and Kaká ended up bending it into the corner. And we went out to AC Milan. We won 3-2 at Old Trafford, but we lost 3-0 away. Got revenge a year later, but you know what? That game. Yeah, I remember Gabriel Heinze quite well. I think he had an attitude problem or something like that. Something happened between him and Alex Ferguson. You know what happens with Alex Ferguson. You fall out with Alex Ferguson, you know what's going to happen. You know who's going to win, isn't it? Bastian Schweinsteiger was not great for us. Yeah, he was. We missed him, mate. We missed the good Bastian Schweinsteiger. We missed the good Bastian Schweinsteiger. Bastian Schweinsteiger was not fit enough at the time. We bought an injured Bastian Schweinsteiger. But one thing I would give Bastian Schweinsteiger is the fact that he was a great personality. He loved the club. He still loves the club. He still talks about Man United on his Twitter page and stuff like that. And that's what I really like about Bastian Schweinsteiger. On his, World Cup winner, isn't he? Absolutely fantastic player. I liked Andreas Muller. Do you remember Andreas Muller? Yeboah, Tony Yeboah, one of the greatest goals against Liverpool. Do you remember that volley? Yeboah with the chance, but baff off the bar. You remember that, don't you? All about the goal against Wimbledon when he tested it down, kneed it, and then smacked it off the bar into the top of the goal. What a player Tony Yeboah was, by the way, guys. Absolutely brilliant player. Premier League was never, guys. If in the 90s, you cannot touch the Premier League in regards to now Premier League and then Premier League. You couldn't touch the Premier League. You had Robbie Fowler, you had Stan Collymore, of course, guys. You had Andy Cole in there as well. You had Dwight York, who played for Aston Villa, of course. You had many players in that Premier League. My goodness me. You had Dennis Bergkamp in the Premier League, back in the 90s. Of course, guys, you had every single team literally had a great player. Matt Letizia for Southampton. You know what I mean? Every team, you can go down it. You can go down the levels. You can say Coventry City had Dion Dublin. And it's just that every team had great strikers. And you know what? To get into that England side, Teddy Sheringham, Tottenham. You know what I mean? To get into that England side, you had to be very, very good, of course. Very, very good. A great day. Watched it with my Leeds fan mates. They stayed up. We won the league. What's that? The Liverpool goal, Yorkshire Cowboy. You're Leeds. You're not a Leeds fan, but your Leeds friends. Was it the 1995-96 season? Wasn't it? Am I right? 95-96 season was it, or 96-97? Oh, the Arsenal game against, against Leeds. Yeah. I was at work that day. You know where I was working that day, Yorkshire Cowboy? I was working at Safeway. It's now Morrison's. I was working at Safeway in Stratford in East London. I was working that day. I was looking at the scores. I had that silly little phone. You know, the phone with no camera, nothing, just digital thing. And I was looking at the scores and, you know what I mean? And I couldn't believe what Leeds were doing for us. I couldn't believe that Leeds were doing a great favour for us. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely. I remember Gianfranco Zola. Guys, if Gianfranco Zola was now, if he was playing now, he'd be one of the best players in Europe. The fact that the talent was so astronomical in the 90s, the talent got diluted, and there was loads of talent everywhere. Every team had good players, and back then it was completely different, And you look at Chelsea, Gianfranco Zola. They had Gianluca Vialli, of course. They also Fabrizio Ravanelli at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough had Juninho, Emerson, Fabrizio Ravanelli, guys, Festo as well. And they're Branco as well, didn't they? That other player. Like, the teams in the 90s, you could not touch the teams in the 90s, guys. Bloody, that Middlesbrough team will win the league now. They got relegated, guys. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. 99, the teams were proper teams, Europe-wide. Absolutely. You could not touch the 90s. 98, 99 in particular was the peak of European football. I mean, every single team you played against, they had ballers, they had world-class players. You can look at Serie A and you can look at Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus, Parma at the time, Lazio. Even Lazio had players, world-class players, Marcelo Salas, those type of players. Of course, guys, Parma had Thomas Brolin and Darlene and, players like at a point they had Veron as well, and so did Lazio have Veron as well. And, there was a lot of players in that league. And when you think about the Bundesliga, you think about Dortmund with Chaprasat, with Andreas Muller, of course, another fantastic player he was. When you think about Bayern Munich, Salahamidzic, of course, Lizarazu, of course, Oliver Kahn, Effenberg, goodness me, Schultz, guys, my goodness me. Great team. Kufor in defense. Man United played Bayern Munich 3 times that year. You know what I mean? That goes to show you. 90s football overtake. Oh, yeah, mate, 100%. There's no way near it. Every single team in the Premier League will probably win the league these days. I'm not even exaggerating. Do you know what I mean? I look at that Coventry City side, and I look at it even with the side with Darren Huckabee and, with Dion Dublin and those type of players. You know what I mean? What's the player who played up front? What's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. Not Breen. He was in defense. There was another player, but anyway, but they're great players. I mean, but there were a couple of players there were really, really good. Kobe Jones, was it Kobe Jones was there as well, wasn't he? He was a decent player. But yeah, definitely. 90s over today, any day of the week, of course. Never liked Robbie Fowler, the Liverpool player. So I didn't like Robbie Fowler, Jim, but the thing is, you have to hold your hands up and say he was prolific. He was a brilliant player. And my best friend, who unfortunately died in a car accident during that time, he was a big Liverpool fan and he loved Robbie Fowler. And I remember Robbie Fowler couldn't even get in the England team. That is how good England were at that time. You know, he couldn't get in the England team. Even Andy Cole couldn't. It's scandalous, really, when you think about it now, isn't it? You know what I mean? Absolutely. LT, what's going on? Big up, brother. I hope you're doing well, LT. Good to see you, mate. I just hope that our players improve there after that Liverpool game, because to be honest, they show up in the big games and downplaying smaller, which is the Bruno admitted. And yeah, absolutely. And Bruno as well. Bruno is a number one culprit of that, isn't he? Bruno needs to pick it up. Not just the other players. He needs to look at himself in the mirror. And I'm glad that the commentator yesterday said to him, and what about yourself? Are you going to look at your own performances as well? Because that is true. He hasn't performed either. We need all these players now to say, okay, Liverpool's the benchmark. We've done it. Now let's go on to Arsenal. Arsenal's going to be a difficult game, right? And I want to knock out Arsenal. I don't like Arsenal. I want to knock out Arsenal out of the FA Cup. That'd be splendid. But if we don't, we have to concentrate on the league. But you know what? What momentum that would be if we draw Liverpool, beat City, obviously, and knock out Arsenal out in the FA Cup. That would be brilliant for me. That, you know what I mean? That will set us up for the Southampton game, of course, the Ipswich and the Brighton of Hove Albion game, of course, guys. Absolutely. Spot on, LT. Big up, man. Big up, Danny B. What's going on, my friend? I hope you're doing well, you legend. Hope you're good, my friend. Hope everything is fine with you. Wright, Collymore. Yeah, oh, guys. Ian Wright as well. Forgot about Ian Wright. Goodness me. Les Ferdinand. Dion Dublin. Kevin Phillips, guys. My goodness me. Kevin Phillips. My goodness. What a player Kevin Phillips was, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, so underrated. So underrated, of course, in regards to goal scoring. He was more like the turn of the century. He was more like 2000, wasn't he? And he became in the England squad that didn't do well in the European Championships. Of course, guys, you know, if I remember rightly, of course, you know, he was a prolific guy. I mean, he scored 30 goals. Didn't he win the Golden Boots? Didn't he? Absolutely. Zola would win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, did you see that goal he scored? I mean, that was that goal he scored from a corner and he flicked it in with the back of his heel. No, I mean, if anyone done that these days, we'd be absolutely raving mad about it. We'd be crying about it. So, you know, I mean, oh my goodness me, everything. We'd be making Netflix series about it, for goodness sake. But these days, you know, I mean, they can't do them sort of things. They'll bloody probably strain their ankle. They'll strain their hamstring. That's what they do if they try to do that. Absolutely brilliant. Gianfranco Zola. Brilliant player. All right, guys, what about Georgie Kinkladze? Players like that, you know, who are super skillful. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. David Ginola. Guys, let me tell you something about David Ginola. If David Ginola was around right now, he'll be the best bloody winger in the Premier League. My goodness me. If you knew David Ginola when he came through, when he signed for Newcastle United, oh my goodness me, what a player as well. Absolutely. Big up, Danny B. Big up, of course. Roma, big up, yeah, big up. The Yorkshire Cowboys, some great names there. Mate, I can go on all day, mate, all bloody day, you know. I even think about, you know, when I was watching football, I started watching football about 1989, 90, properly when I started watching it. I vaguely remember the 1986 World Cup, vaguely. A little bit, of course, guys. So, you know, I remember Brian Robson playing, and you know, these don't even get mentioned these days. These players, you know what I mean? People don't even want to mention these players. You know what I mean? But you know, I personally feel that, guys, this is going to sound controversial, but I think in the Premier League back then, any team in the top 10 could probably win the league now. I'm sorry, guys. Don't shoot the messenger. Pavel Nedved, absolutely. Pavel Nedved. Unbelievable. And the one thing I would stress about Pavel Nedved, obviously, and what's the French player? Trezeguet. The one thing I would stress about David Trezeguet, Alessandro Del Piero, Pavel Nedved, Gianluca Buffon, one thing I would say about those players, right, Conte as well, is that Juventus got put down a few divisions in, I think, Serie B. They got put down to Serie C or Serie B because of corruption and stuff like that. Those players stayed at the football club and they got the football club back to where it is. Those players still stayed at the football club. Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. Pavel Nedved was fire, mate. He was fire. Absolute brilliant player. No one, look, guys, come on, guys. Is it just me? Is it just me, or has talent regressed? Is it just me? Or you look at, you talk about, we can name these players all day long. I can name players at every single club. Right, let's look at Arsenal, right? David Seaman, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, right? Dixon, Winterburn, Keown, Adams. In midfield, they had Vieira, they had Manuel Petit, they had Mark Overmars. Mark Overmars was very underrated. Ray Parlour as well, very, very underrated. Dennis Bergkamp, Ian Wright. That was Arsenal. That was just Arsenal, right? And they weren't champions, man. And you think about that. Do you know what I mean? Leeds United, you had the likes of Lucas Radibi, you know what I mean? And I think Rio Ferdinand played them about 2000 or something like that. You know what I mean? Around that time, of course. Brian Dean played for them, yes. Alan Smith played for them. David Batty played for Leeds United, of course, back then as well. Harry Kewell played for Leeds United back then. You know what I mean? They had some good players. Wallace, of course, great Man United player. Rodney Wallace played for Leeds United, of course, guys, as well. A good player as well. You think about Tottenham Hotspur, who had Jurgen Klinsmann and Dimitrescu and Petrescu and Teddy Sheringham and Gary Mabbott, you know what I mean? And Ian Walker, who was an England international. And, those type of players, you look at that and you look at now and you think about, every player had world-class players. Southampton had Graham Lasso and they had Matt Letizier. Do you know what I mean? Neil Shipley wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. To be honest, Marion Bahars, you remember him? Big up. Paolo Maldini was a gem of a player. Absolutely world-class, mate. Was privileged to see him play live, of course. Danny B, best ever left-sided defender, I'd say Greeks. Yeah. I like Roberto Carlos as a left wing back. I think he'd be brilliant at Ruben Amorim's system right now. Cafu and Roberto Carlos, guys. Imagine Ruben Amorim's system with Cafu and Roberto Carlos. I feel so privileged to have seen those players. Like, honest to God, I feel so privileged. When I saw them, I took it for granted back then when I saw those players. But you know what? Imagine Roberto Carlos on one side, Cafu on another side. That was only Brazil team. That was only the Brazil team. You know what I mean? Rivaldo, Ronaldo. You know what I mean? Juninho. Absolutely. Love the Ravanelli. Middlesbrough had some top players. Absolutely, Jim. And the thing is, they didn't only have top players, but they got relegated. They got relegated. Can you believe it? Emerson, Juninho, Ravanelli. What a team that was. And they got relegated. Let's not forget, though, they were the only team to beat Man United at Old Trafford in a treble-winning season. I think it was the game where they gave a penalty to Middlesbrough and they missed the penalty in Middlesbrough. I think it's where we hounded the referee. I think that was the one. But we lost to Middlesbrough in the treble-winning season, of course. King Classy was distinguishedly good. He was. The thing is, right, these players now, if these players were in this day and age, they'll be classed as £100 million players. They'll be brilliant. I mean, David Ginola was brilliant for me. Absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? And every team, it just was quality. I mean, that Newcastle team that didn't win the league, by the way, guys. Alan Shearer, Les Ferdinand, Peter Beardsley. You know what I mean? Gary Speed, Philip Albert, Pavel Cernacek in goal. God rest their soul. Gary Speed and Pavel Cernacek. God rest their soul, by the way. No longer with us, of course, guys. Fantastic players, of course, in their day, of course. And Barry Venison was a good player. So I remember him playing for England. I went to an England game many, many years ago. I think it was England against USA in 1994. And there was England against Nigeria. And he was playing, Barry Venison. Can you believe that Steve Bruce didn't get an England cap? Yet players like Neil Ruddock and Barry Venison and Steve Howie and, what other player? Come on. Rob Jones got caps for England and Steve Bruce didn't. And Steve Bruce once scored 16 goals in one season from defense. Madness, isn't it? Madness. Big up, Flyer. Yes, Flyvich. I don't think he'd be good enough for Manchester United. Kevin, I cannot disagree, my friend. I cannot disagree. I don't shoot the messenger. I prefer Osimhen. I don't know how you feel about it, Kev, but I prefer Osimhen. It's one of them ones, isn't it, where we don't know, do we? Because he hasn't played anywhere else, really. Partizan, Belgrade, and Fiorentina. Those are the only teams that he's played for. So we don't really know. But one thing it is, you look at him in his size and stuff and the way he plays, and it looks like, you know what, we need someone a little bit more, with a bit more presence about them. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, a little bit more presence about them. Big up, big up. What's going on, Asherman? How you doing, my brother? I hope everything's good. The United Road, big up yourself. Hope you're doing well, my bro. Absolutely. Big up, of course. Sal, you're taking me back a long time. We have to, guys. We have to take you back. Of course, Francesco Totti, guys. Goodness me, Francesco Totti. Gabriel Batistuta. What you want to talk about, Gabriel Batistuta? Enrico Chiesa. You want to talk about Enrico Chiesa? Let's talk about Enrico Chiesa as well. Let's talk about Sensini. You know, Thomas Brolin. You know what I mean? We can go on all day long. João Pinto. Let's go back João Pinto. Nuno Gomez. Goodness me. I mean, God. I mean, the talent out there back then. Who are we going to say these days? We still talk about bloody Messi and Ronaldo right now at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? I'm telling you, look, you look at Real Madrid's team now. Let's be honest, guys. Vinicius Jr., Bellingham, right? Average players in the 90s. Average players in the 90s. I'm sorry, clip that no matter what you want to do. Average players in the 90s. I'm sorry. Sal, I'm so sorry to hear about your friend, but yeah, that was a long time ago. Thank you, Jim. You a legend, absolutely. I only found out, which was sad, from my Facebook. I belong to a group which is about Leighton and Leytonstone. Leytonstone, where I was born, and there was a post up about this guy. And it was my friend of mine who was in the same class as me, going all the way from infants all the way up into secondary school in year 11. And the last time I saw him was in 1998-99. And you know what he said to me? And he's a Liverpool fan. Man United had just beaten Liverpool 2-0, right? You remember when Paul Scholes bent one in the top corner in 98-99, and Andy Cole, I think it was Andy Cole, scored the other one. I think it was Andy Cole. And you remember when we beat them 2-0? It was a day after that. And I went to college, and he said, "Oh, Sal, well done on the game." And he's a Liverpool fan. He said, "Well done on the game." And then I said, "Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks." And I was a very humble guy, by the way. I didn't used to revel in success, right? And basically, unlike Arsenal fans back then, but basically he said, "I think Man United are going to do something special this season." You know, and we used to play at Hackney Marshes. Hackney Marshes, of course, is famous for many footballers. Messi's played there, by the way. He came all the way from Spain just to play at Hackney Marshes. Cantona has played out there. And I played at Hackney Marshes, and we met up again. And to be honest with you, I didn't really speak to him. And to be honest, we used to always play at Hackney Marshes games on a Saturday before the games would start at the weekend. And, you know, I just found out, I think it was 3 months ago that he had a car accident. Shame, innit? Sad way to go, isn't it, really? Absolutely. Vieira couldn't even start for France. That's how good France were. Bloody hell. Exactly. Neither could Thierry Henry. You know what I mean? You look at that France team and you think about that team. Now, let me remember this team, guys. Let me remember the team. Lizarazu, right? Lilian Thuram, right? Frank Leboeuf, little bit of a weak area. Marcel Desailly, Fabien Barthez in goal, all right? In the midfield, they had Emmanuel Petit in the midfield and Didier Deschamps in the midfield. That's what I can remember. On the left, I think they had Henry, if I'm not mentioned, but they did have Perez. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Perez or it was Dugarry who used to play in that left side. Okay, I think it was Dugarry who used to play in that left side. Absolutely. Lizarazu up front. Obviously, they had Djorkaeff. Don't forget Laurent Blanc played. Sorry, it wasn't Leboeuf. It was Laurent Blanc. Laurent Blanc, of course, and Desailly. That was the defense. But Leboeuf was in the squad. Yes, guys. Darren Anderton, the England regular. I remember Darren Anderton. I remember him kicking one in the top. But let me tell you a story about Darren Anderton, guys. When I used to live in Leighton, in East London, there used to be the football ground, Leighton Orient, in my back garden. Basically, in my back garden, right? And Tottenham reserves, youth team, and the reserves used to go to Leighton to play. To, you know, like to get fit and stuff like that and everything like that. I was sitting there reading a Match magazine. You know those Match magazines? You remember the football magazines? And suddenly I heard bang on my window. And I've gone, what the hell is that? I looked out and all I could see is this football bouncing in my garden. Book, hits the fence, comes back. Leighton Orient back then didn't have a stand. They just had, you can see straight into it like that. And I used to just watch the games from my window. It's Darren Anderton. A few weeks later, he's scoring for England in the World Cup against Colombia in the 1998 World Cup. Unbelievable. And that England team was very good, very balanced. Bolton were good. Bolton won us the league. JJ Okocha would be a bloody £80 million player right now. £100 million player if he was around now. Absolutely. I would have loved JJ Okocha at Man United. If I was to choose one player, it was JJ Okocha, guys, at Man United. Absolutely. Yo, Bilal, what's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Good to see everyone in the chat. We're just going through old times, guys, reminiscing about the past and stuff like that. Absolutely. I wanted them to play it for Brazil. Absolutely. I mean, England for Brazil. Play England for Brazil. Absolutely, mate. England were good then. Absolutely. Arsenal used to work with a couple of leagues 20 years ago. One was a young Australian bloke, Italian origin. Yes, I know who you're talking about. I know Venezia, Paolo Venezia. I think you're talking about, isn't it? Used to have the fiercest rivalry debates, but a good friend. I've ever said for Paolo Venezia. Absolutely. Also, Sal, as another mate in the same job, Turkish middle-aged man who supported Arsenal. We had serious debates, a rivalry, also good friends. Big up, Arsenal. Big up. Back then, man, we're reminiscing, of course, guys. Absolutely. We need the next Irish player legend, Roy Keane. Guys, Ireland. Let's talk about Ireland now. Let's talk about Ireland in the 90s, shall we? When they came neck and neck with England. You know what I mean? Let's talk about Ireland. Let's talk about Roy Keane. Let's talk about Andy Townsend, Houghton, Phelan. Let's talk about Robbie Keane. Let's talk about, oh my goodness me, Dennis Irwin. For me, the best left back in the world ever. Right? Underrated completely. When I think of Ireland, I think about Ray Houghton against Italy in the 1994 World Cup. And I think about Ireland back then. Steve Staunton, Andy Townsend as well was playing in that game. Jason McAteer, who I've had in the show, guys. Kevin, if you go down on my videos, check out the interview with Jason McAteer. I've got him on this channel. If you look down, he played in that game, of course. I've got him on this channel. Just write Stretford Post, Jason McAteer, come up. Absolutely. Sal, I love Janino. Absolutely brilliant. He nearly signed for Man United, of course. Nearly, but didn't quite work out, of course. Of course, guys. Figo, Zidane, Makelele, Bex, or Vinny, Rodrigo, Bellingham, because I know who I'm picking. Absolutely. We know, but guys, we know. Talent has regressed, mate. Yuri Yorkaev. Yes, Danny B. Absolutely. Yuri Yorkaev. What a great player. What a great player. Yuri Yorkaev was a brilliant player. Another one, guys. Another one off the conveyor belt. It shows you how good these players were, because Laurent Blanc in his twilight years can still come to Man United and win the league. That's how good these players were. Absolutely. That's how good these players were, of course. Andre Kanchelskis, man, he's one of the reasons I support Man United. I mean, he was so good. I mean, at the end of the day, look, you know what? Schmeichel would get the ball and he'll just throw it all the way down, guys. And 30 seconds later, it's in the back of the net. Big up. Absolutely. What's the story of Victor Osimhen, Sal? Man United are trying to strike a deal with Victor Osimhen, using Marcus Rashford as a mate weight for Marcus Rashford to go to Napoli. Antonio Conte is a big fan of Marcus Rashford, although Marcus Rashford is digging his heels in and doesn't want to take a pay cut, and Napoli don't really want to pay the wages for Marcus Rashford. But Man United are trying to force Marcus Rashford at the club and get Osimhen as a replacement, of course, guys. Big up, Kevin. Real James, if Ochicha played now, he would be a nitpick weekly and told not to play the way anymore. Yeah, absolutely, Real Game. They'll say, stop doing those skills. Guys, JJ Okocha. I mean, I feel privileged. Guys, look, I talk about 90s football because I come from 90s football. I come from the late 80s and the 90s. And I talk about Nigeria. And I talk about that team there, Amakachi, Efana Koku. You remember him? Sunday Elise. Taribo West, Aminike, JJ Okocha, Nwanko Kanu, of course. Nwanko Kanu's cousin went to my wedding, by the way. Yeah, big up, Ben. Kanu, of course. Absolutely. Brilliant times. Ian Hart, brilliant. Absolutely. Steve Finnan. Guys, you're taking me down memory lane. Thank you, guys. Anyway, I'm going to be off now, guys. But thank you, everyone who's joined me today. You absolute legends. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And please don't forget to smash the like on the video. It's been brilliant. You know what? You can tell we're from the 90s, isn't it? When we're talking about football like this, the names are just rolling off the tongue, ain't they? To be honest with you, we're just going on all day, of course. We can go on all day. Absolutely. Ian Hart, David Trezeguet. Yeah, I mentioned him earlier about Juve. Stayed at Juventus, signed from Monaco, of course. Guys, times to be alive. Like Saint Mansell was my favorite people, forced him out of the league because of his style. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was dangerous. Lilian Thuram, absolutely. Big up, Kamali. Hope you're doing well. Big up. I'm a football legend. Kamali, who did you play for? Kamali. Big up, Kamali, by the way. Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining me. Absolute diamonds. I'm Sal Warner. This is Stretford Post. Please don't forget to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to smash a like on the video as well, you legends. Thank you, everyone. I'm back tomorrow for Breaking Dawn in the morning. Break of Dawning when we're yawning, of course, guys. And yeah, we're building up to the Arsenal game, guys. Have a fabulous, fabulous evening, night, morning, midnight, wherever you are. Thank you, every single one of you, for joining me. You are the reason. Thank you, guys. Nothing without you. Cheers. Peace.